Doesn't work.
The stream wasn't working. I'm not the pro no more.
Sorry, Rocco.
Yeah,
You talking about the bid rate?
yeah.
I use 2,500.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't want to hear that.
I didn't want to hear that.
And
Then
Too bad you heard it.
It is too bad
Then 80-80.
because I really didn't want to hear it, but
Expand your window, Rocco. It's in the live stream. It's showing up minimized.
is the live stream working?
this guy is
Yeah, I
so
see it.
unprofessional. My gosh. It's just terrible.
Oh, there we go.
I know it's about as good as his Solus installation.
That's what happens when you reboot the computer in the middle of the stream.
English Bob made it. Look at that. Hey, English Bob.
Good morning, everybody. How are we all? Wonderful to see you.
Steve, I want to know when we're going to play some Rocket League, dude.
Oh, we're going to play it real soon. I'm just finishing up installing Windows 10s, the latest Linux operating system. And Rocco, I'll be right up there with you. Car,
That's a shocker.
trying to hit a ball. Oh,
That's awesome.
Oh, God. Steve, your medication.
I think
for
my
your
key order's ready. I'll be back.
sorry, everybody.
There's a question for you in chat, Rocco.
Uh-oh. There's a... Wait, what? I'm not looking at chat, dude. What did I hop
Guys in
to?
live chat.
Who does that?
Oh, in Zoom or in YouTube?
No, in YouTube live chat, Fagan Man's got a question for you.
What did you hop to? Well, you see, it's like this. You know, I had made a prediction that... Well, wait. No, see, like I said, like I explained to the guys in the Telegram group,
Hang on,
that-
let's all do the Rocco wiggle.
Quiet. Yeah, everyone get their popcorn ready.
you can't really consider it a prediction if I made it before New Year's Eve, and I also broke it before New Year's Eve. So it really doesn't count as a prediction then.
Oh,
No,
boy.
you had to reset. Remember, I said you could reset.
I mean, how can you call it a prediction if it didn't even last until New Year's?
It's a
So,
Rocco
No,
wiggle.
well, it's a reset. You're allowed at least one restart.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a mulligan.
We're buffering bad.
A mulligan.
Mulligan.
So,
well,
Michael, you really do use 2,500. You were just joking, right?
Yeah, I don't know why that was a joke.
Because I told Rocco to use 2,500, and he thinks I'm always trying to fool him.
no,
Oh.
that's a downright distortion of the truth. He told me to use 2250.
If you're talking about video bit rate, I use 2,500.
I use 5,000, especially on Windows 10s, because 4,000 goes. Great. Gives me
It's actually what you need to do is go over 9,000.
Go over what?
9,000. You got to go over 9,000.
Why? Why? Tell me why.
So you get the
Wait, because there's going to be a lot of
Because it'll be supersonic then?
Yes.
No, see, I don't normally have problems. I've been running... Okay, so after I got, the buffering issues a couple weeks ago were from the fact that I wasn't able to use NVENC, and I had to use the processor, and it wasn't able to use my video card, and then it was all causing all these issues. But once I got to be able to use NVENC again, I was at 5,000 and had no buffering after that. But I don't know what's the deal with this is.
Well, it's not buffering now, so there's that.
No, it's really good. It's really smooth on my.
Oh yeah, but wait a minute. It'll buffer again. Just
It
give it a
did
minute.
once.
I was going to say, Rocco, now you're just jinxing yourself.
I'm just telling you what's going to happen, dude.
You know what I noticed, Rocco? As soon as Darkwind joined, it started.
Oh.
Maybe if we kicked him.
I was surprised.
Hey, Ryan.
I mean, you can do it for science.
For science.
That got me out of the whole distro hop question. So there you have that.
Hey, Rocco. So Solus, man,
Distro
what
bit
happened?
rate.
I
What
don't.
happened? No.
Did you know that there's this thing called Spectre and?
No, but that has nothing to do with Solus. When
Well, I just figured
You
it was a
just
hot
asked.
topic. It was
does affect
probably,
it.
it was probably something we should talk about, huh? I mean, more
After the
important than
Solus.
Solus.
I mean,
Yeah.
it is important to talk about it, but first we got to talk about the fantastic hoodie that Zeb has right now.
Yes, I agree.
Amazing.
Yeah, I have to say it's very impressive, Zeb. Very impressive.
Where could he possibly got that? You think?
Buffering.
I'm not really sure, but maybe like touchdigital.com/Linux is everywhere.
Just don't get it from the American site if you're in Europe,
Yeah.
because they charge you a shipping fee that they then muck up, don't pay UK customs, and I had to pay another £15 to pick it up.
Fun things. So speaking of meltdown,
Robot. It's offline, everyone. Robot.
I know it is.
See
Zeb,
everyone
Zeb.
next week.
Zeb, are you sure it's not just Michael offsetting the AdSense revenue? Because that's quite a nice little earner, isn't it?
I'm not gonna deny how.
Loving it.
So what we've learned is if you buy a shirt off tuxdigital.com, you're probably going to get charged extra. But if you get
No.
one from Destination Linux,
No.
we do not charge those fees.
If Teespring could sort out their website and realise that as soon as you put in your address, they should
Destination
say,
Linux
hey, guys,
can
you
buy
need
its
to come over
product
to the
and
Europe
give
site.
you $15 back. That's how we roll.
Destination
the
Linux
shirt-
won't do that because they don't offer EU shipment. There you go.
Maybe the shirt should say fees are everywhere on the shirt.
Well, that's Teespring's issue. They can make a modification if they like to.
Hey, I think we may have it. So there you go.
What'd you do, man? You switched to XFCE?
No, he
No.
switched to i3.
I'm not smart enough to run i3. I think we all know there's only one man in the room smart enough to run i3 right now.
The same one
Where
that's
is
smart
he?
enough to have plasma running on his phone. Look at that. Look at
I
it.
know.
Doesn't count if it's just a wallpaper that you just.
We did try to put something up that looked like
He put the dummy phone
Turtle
on.
before.
Look at that.
Oh,
Isn't it beautiful?
It's good stuff.
Yeah.
All right, so please let me know if it's buffering in the chat because it should be done buffering now that we made a few minor technical changes here.
Who didn't pay the new monthly live streaming fee?
YouTube.
So anyway, long story short here, let's get this Solus thing out of the way. Solus was running fabulous. It was running great, and I loved it. And last week we were talking
I don't wanna
about
see your butt, Jim.
Lightworks and how it wasn't able to be installed on Solus. And then I talked to one of the guys on Telegram, and he said, well, I got it installed on Solus, so here's what you do. And I did it, and it was no fault of his own. I mean, it worked for him, but I don't know, maybe I did something wrong or didn't follow the instructions the right way. But either way, after I installed that program and rebooted, or I tried to reboot, it wouldn't reboot.
Uh-oh.
So I couldn't get it to reboot. And so I figured I spent an hour or two trying to fix it with no luck, with other people's help. And I decided it would be best to reinstall because I had the home partition on another partition, so I didn't have to worry about getting my documents back. All I'd have to do is reinstall the programs. Well, when I went to reinstall it, it would not find my Wi-Fi drivers. Don't know why it found my Wi-Fi drivers all this time. I reinstalled them, removed them, rebooted, did everything I could do to have it recognize them, but it just wouldn't. So I figured I was done playing around with it and had enough of just messing around and just decided to install. And I needed something that was stable and good running, and I picked Ubuntu Mate.
Good choice.
Yay.
Yay. Good
So
choice.
that's what I'm running right now. And it's funny because everything works perfectly, unlike in
Except the
XFCE. No, that's the internet. But in XFCE, you know, like the dual monitors and the gaming won't work. And yet every single time I open Rocket League, it opens on the right screen. Everything just seems to work pretty good. It's almost boring.
Boring is good because it means you can do other things.
And next week
So
he'll
how
be
many of
on.
them are running Mate right now?
The simple life.
There we go. We got a quarter. What, the third or quarter?
It's at least 3 here.
Mm-hmm.
4.
So
See, Rocco, you stick with me, I take care of you, okay?
I'm not saying that I'll never
I
switch
love
again,
that.
but I'm enjoying it not being stupid and having issues. So
Isn't it nice when things just work?
yes, it is.
Yeah.
And like I said before, this machine I have to have up because of the podcast, because of this show. So I can't be messing around every couple days reinstalling and trying to fix this and trying to fix that. So I just need something that's just going to work. And that's why I was on Solos, because everything was just working until I messed it up.
You know what you should go to instead?
Yeah.
Next week.
Well,
It's-
next week
It's KDE Neon.
we might go to KD Neon.
Especially if you don't want your software center to work. But most everything else does work.
Seriously, I don't know why more of you guys and girls don't try the peppermint. It's fantastic and it just works.
Well, actually, I did try Peppermint before, but it had the same issue that XFCE has for me, where all the games would pop up on the wrong monitor, no matter what I did.
Okay.
So anything like Ubuntu does the same thing, MX did the same thing, Peppermint did the same thing. Where I don't know if it's just the way just the way XFCE or that base is looking at it, but it just won't come up on the right monitor, no matter what I do. Even going into the Xconfig, even going into the NVIDIA settings, it just won't. So
You have a unique connection for your monitors too, which is probably adding to it, an unusual one. So one of these days we may have you go to XSC, but the fact that other ones work is, it is what it is, right?
yeah, I mean, I
If
could
none of
see
them
it.
worked, then it would be one thing.
Right, exactly. So there, that's out of the way now, okay?
So Rocco broke his New Year resolution.
I did not. It's not
No,
a New Year's
he
resolution.
reset.
It's not a New Year's resolution.
Well,
if
it was on
last before
Destination
midnight.
Linux is a 2018 prediction.
Yeah, but a prediction
Well,
can be
that's
wrong. It
different.
doesn't make it a resolution.
Exactly.
True.
Okay.
His prediction was wrong.
My prediction was
In
already
comes
wrong.
Michael with the technicalities to back you up. You're so
love it.
lucky.
Fist bump.
Fist bump.
Your prediction was wrong one day after you gave it.
Yes. Well,
So it looks like my predictions so far are winning. off
so
the
I
show.
was wrong faster than everybody else is going to be wrong. I mean,
I am not still on Arch Merge, JP. I am actually on KDE Neon. I am on KDE Neon right now.
You've joined the Church of Neon?
He's complaining about Discover not working. Yeah,
Whoa.
I mean,
Let's first talk
Discover
about.
not working.
He's in Hepatitis Anonymous right now.
No. Ryan, saying Discover doesn't work is a little bit true. But let's discuss the potential when it does work. How about that?
Let me
well,
tell you
that's kind of
something.
what we discussed.
That's like
Let me tell you something.
What?
KDE Neon works for all of. I would never recommend it to a new user ever, but all your core stuff, all of your main applications running, your audio. I have Jack set up now with because Scrap helped set me up because God knows I couldn't have done it with extreme mixers and all that stuff works beautifully in KDE Neon. When it comes to their Discover store, it is the worst implementation of a store, and that's saying something because most of the Linux distro stores suck. But Discover is especially sucky, like the worst I've ever seen. But everything else, if you just go install, a different package manager, you'll be in heaven because it all works very well. Now, I think it's beautiful, and some of the applications, the KDE applications, are some of the best I've ever seen. Like their Vault app, I think, is amazing for security, as well as their Android app. I cannot think of the name right now,
KDE
Rocco.
Connect.
Thank you, KDE Connect. I mean, that is just something awesome.
It's amazing, and it works on any distro and any desktop environment.
Yeah, I mean, so stuff like that blows me away about it. I wouldn't necessarily say I'd go out and recommend it right now till they get Discover kind of figured out. But if you're for a new user, that is. But if you're somebody who knows Linux and can move around in the terminal, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I tell people to use Kubuntu if they're new.
Yeah.
Wow, that's even bad.
No.
I wouldn't do that to a new person.
I wouldn't either.
How dare you? How dare you?
I wouldn't do that to a new user.
Did you see the new design they're gonna have, like the dark theme, is fantastic. That's that was really
yeah. Somebody suggested that, and we covered that on Destination Linux, where somebody suggested that.
Yeah.
What was his name again?
Oh, I forget. This is some guy was like just really helpful to the community. I just forget.
Yeah, I think he was on the Ask Noah show the other day.
Yeah.
Huh?
Oh yeah, he might have been.
Yeah, that same guy.
Yeah, that same person. Speaking of which, I was on the Ask Noah show yesterday.
Speaking of which, what was that all about?
I explained Spectre and Meltdown, in like a more like trying to make it like digestible way, but like.
Did you do the virtual trolley example?
No, I don't like that.
Okay.
So give me
I like the example Noah gave. Like
give me the one-liner answer of what it is.
Bad.
There's not a
Perfect.
It's bad.
Replace your hardware. That's
okay.
That's the ultimate issue.
All right. So has anybody figured this out? Because their articles are very confusing in this, even in looking this morning. AMD not impacted, or just not impacted as heavily because they go back and forth every day.
Not as heavily.
Yeah. Okay.
Impacted by Spectre.
Or software related, right, Mike?
They're affected by Spectre, not Meltdown. But
Right.
Spectre is also terrible.
Yeah.
It's just not as terrible as everything else as well. Like Intel is everything.
FX has it worse than Ryzen does, doesn't it?
FX?
Yeah, their FX processors.
The prior gen processors.
Yeah, possibly. I don't know. I haven't looked into.
I don't remember which one. I think one of them is worse than the
their
other.
issue is like most of their hardware is the same. It's all Spectre based. They don't have any Meltdown issues because they already have page table isolation built into their processor.
Excuse me.
So they don't have to worry about the kernel doing that because they're already doing it.
So how many nanoseconds speed loss are we going to be looking at?
It depends on the workload of what you're doing, like the amount of what you're doing and the type of thing you're doing. In some cases, there's completely none. Like it depends.
So for the average Joe Blow, just using his computer, playing the odd game, jumping on the internet, doing emails.
Maybe 5%, maybe. If any.
So the human eye won't notice it, in other words.
This is how it was explained to
Most
me,
people won't.
which made sense on the performance bump, is that essentially at certain times and Michael's going to be like probably crawling in his skin, but this is kind of how it clicked to me. At certain times, your computer is basically predicting actions that you're going to be taking based on the tasks that you're going, and sends this, what they call the virtual trolley as an example, down the pipeline along with the actual information that you are processing. And if you end up doing what it thinks you're going to do, the prediction, then that virtual goes through. If it doesn't, then it kills it. So that prediction now is gone. Once they do that software, they're turning it off, and that slows your machine down. That's how it was explained on a form that kind of made sense to me.
That's not it at all.
I think I read somewhere where it was actually an attempt by Apple, as they'd successfully managed to slow their own devices down. They just thought, screw it, let's slow everyone.
Yeah, they just you don't have the
that is a
device.
And the battery life.
The likelihood of that it's hard to disagree.
That's funny.
So it's wrong. So what's right?
The prediction thing is normal. It's going to continue doing the prediction. Essentially, what it's doing is that what happens is that the prediction, the problem, the vulnerability is created because the prediction is not removed. The result of that prediction, the speculative execution, or speculative evaluation is what it's called, but the execution from the speculative evaluation is not being thrown away. The value of the execution is being thrown away, but the fact that it was executed, it's still in the history of the prediction. So the branch prediction history is still keeping that. So what it's doing is modifying that execution and then making it like bump up what it could pull back. So instead of having like one specific value, it takes that value and multiplies it, for example, by like 512, so that you have a massive amount of arrays that you could search through, and then it'll just continuously take the prediction history and resend it over and over and over. And because it's being resent, it's tricking the system to go, oh, since this has already been used before, we can use it now, even though it's been thrown away.
So can you like explain that in English now?
It's bad.
Bad.
The best. Okay, there was one that was really good. that was, if you talk to someone, you want to explain it to them, and you like in the prediction system is it takes the code that you give it code, and then it will run it regardless if it's been allowed to run or not. It just tries to predict whether it will be used. And the reason why that's good is because it speeds up the process, because instead of saying, run this, and it goes, no, okay, start over, run this. Instead of that, it goes, run this, okay, now pick which result you want, because they're both already ran. That's why it increases speed. But the problem is that because it already had both of them ran, as long as you can make the system continue to run the wrong one over and over, you can take over and pull and extract data from that. So that's the more less technical way, but still technical. My favorite way is that there's a, you ever talk to someone and you're like, we know each other so well, we finish each other's sandwiches. Sentences.
Really?
Okay,
Michael?
not sandwiches.
Really? Really? You're going to do this?
That's the best way, because it's like if you're predicting it, that if one's obviously wrong, but it would just basically take the sandwich and just keep adding more meat to it.
But correct me if I'm wrong, though. There's no actual people been affected.
Yeah, there's proof of concepts, but there's
right.
Not technically.
The idea is now that it's out, that's where the danger is going to come in more than anything else, because now the hackers will be looking at it.
My guess is that, like, really exploiting this vulnerability, it would take so much effort, and it would have to be so precise that it might not even be worth it.
Not really. You run one code, you're done.
Really?
Yeah. It's awful.
That's awful.
The problem is massive. It can even be done through JavaScript.
Oh.
On a website.
Yeah, but what was I was reading something that said one of them you needed to have access to the actual machine. The other ones you could do JavaScript with, but I forget which one.
Spectre is JavaScript, but Spectre is the more nasty one is Spectre. The problem is people are looking at as Meltdown gets to the kernel. It's like, yes, it does, but it can be mitigated by the kernel itself, whereas Spectre cannot. And like there are things that are being done to try to mitigate some. There's like hundreds of patches to make this fixed, but it's not fixed, but like patched. And the Meltdown can be fixed with the page table isolation, which just essentially means that when kernel memory is being used and the cache is created, if something is used or not used, the bash, the branch prediction history is just automatically deleted, no matter what the result was. So it has to continuously make that branch history or the branch prediction history, which creates that overhead. Because instead of like keeping the information in cache to reutilize it, it just throws it away. So it has to keep doing it over and over. That's what's
I know. They're like sucking my bandwidth up here.
I told you, the two guys in here from England, all the bandwidth's going over there right now.
Well,
that's how it works.
His neighbour's running a cheeky feed off his internet without his.
Yeah. Well,
So is your main machine running off of wireless or hardwired, Rocco?
Well, originally it was running off of Wi-Fi, and I switched it to the wired connection, and it's still... I mean, it was fine up until this point, and now it's going all goofy.
People don't want to see.
It's a sign that you should be using Solus, and
is that what it is?
Yeah, that's what it is. It's the revenge.
Mess with Lightworks, yeah.
And if it was Ryan's choice, he would say just use anything with XFCE, and it doesn't.
There you go, man, and you'll be happy.
Says
No
Mr.
idea.
Kagan.
Yeah, highly doubtful there.
It could be. I mean, I don't know. It could be the fact that it's very, like, it's a bad night for the internet, and there's other people in the house, and I don't know. They could be streaming something. Who knows? So
Kick him off. Sweet.
yeah, kick them off. Yeah, just kick them off.
Thanks for coming tonight, but go somewhere else.
Right?
You should be able to do it right from there.
Mm-hmm. I probably could, but I'm not.
Yeah, you should be able to get into your router and just knock them off.
I can, but I'm not gonna. No, not gonna do it. So.
Oh, you're just too nice.
Everybody will have to just get mad at me in this stream. So that's the way it is. Doing my best. So now that we got Spectre out of the way,
well, I gotta share something. I shared this with Steve 3 o'clock in the morning, so 18 hours ago, and Zeb saw it too. My grandson came in here yesterday or the day before whenever Steve did one of his trucking videos, and it was American Truck Simulator, which my grandson just loves. And the first thing he does, he goes, "Look, Grandpa, there's a poker chip," and he's pointing at the peppermint logo. I thought that was awesome.
That is so cute.
He's 3.5 years old, by the way.
That's amazing.
That's awesome, Joe. That is awesome, man. So I've got a quick, serious question for you all. Windows 10s, is it a Linux killer, or is it just another lame effort by Microsoft to reel in revenue free of charge?
The latter.
It's worse than Windows 10 itself. It's what I've been seeing and hearing. It's total junk.
Yeah,
it's basically trying to stick a mobile OS approach into a x86 architecture, and it just doesn't work. I mean, look at everything that has tried that approach doesn't work. I mean, even Apple, as much as they use the App Store
going
now,
Chromebooks with it.
Yeah,
there's been a lot of crying about that too, about the privacy aspect and invasion of the kids using that in the schools too. So I don't, unless I'm wrong, I don't see it lasting, but at least by today's indications, from what I've seen, the complaints about it and stuff. So
Windows 10
I mean, for me personally,
what software can be on it too.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, my little tiny bath pool, I'm very excited because I see more and more brand new people over to Linux every day on a very small, tiny scale, of course. And I find it really exciting. I think 2020 will be the watershed when people have seriously got to make a decision. But I think at the same time, Microsoft is so desperate to find that little magic formula to just trap the whole planet back on Windows again. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think? I mean, for me, Linux is just getting better and better and better with each release. Yeah, there's still problems. It's still not the best gaming platform. Blah 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 blah. But by and large, I think this is really exciting times for Linux on the desktop in general.
I think that Linux is going to keep growing the way it is now, and it'll keep getting bigger and bigger. But at the same time, like, I don't think Microsoft necessarily cares either, and I think that's kind of part of the issue. Is that I think they know that
90% of the populace will stay Windows.
Yeah.
The operating system is only their window, no pun intended, into your life. Where their money and everything's getting generated is the data mining and the ads and the apps and all the things they could sell you. So in one breath, you're correct that, yeah, they really don't care. And that's why they went the free route. But I don't know if 2020 will be the case, like you're saying, Steve, but I honestly do think that by 2025, you're going to see something, because I still come back to, I haven't been able to figure out why they put an expiration life on something that's supposed to be a permanent, unending OS.
Yeah.
We said subscription. We went down that whole rabbit hole.
Yeah, we went
last time. So there's something that's going to go on with it. But you're right. They do grasp at some straws, I think, trying to see what part of the marketplace they can keep grabbing at is what I think is happening.
I think Microsoft is getting to the point now where they're realizing that, unfortunately for them, it's not a Windows-only world like it was in the 90s. And they will be grasping at straws where they can and how they can. Satya Nadella has put into Azure and all the stuff you can do with Linux on their back end there. That they're going more. I hate the term cloud, but that's where they're going with it. I mean,
and that's where the money's going to be for them.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, 10 years ago, could you think of running a Microsoft Office app on an Android phone?
No.
I mean, you can't really do that now anyway.
Well, you know what I mean. Microsoft developing anything for another platform other than Windows, maybe Mac. And
then it was always several years behind what Windows could do.
Yes.
Than the Windows version.
And on the older hardware, it's slower as well.
So going back to Spectre, Meltdown and stuff is, I mean, Is Wine affected by the performance hit, just like everything else is?
It's an interesting
Probably.
question.
Probably, I would think so.
Not exactly. No, we don't. The benchmarking is has to be done on everything. There's no way to tell what's affected, what isn't, unless you test it. So, like, I wouldn't make an assumption that it would be. The fact that gaming is not affected is a good sign that you really can't tell unless you test it. And video editing in some cases is not affected either. So it is interesting what is and what isn't affected. Like compiling and virtualization are absolutely affected, but not everything is. So you'd have to test it out first.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see why
I would have
compiling would be,
expected.
yeah.
I would have
I could see
expected
that.
video editing to be a little more affected than that. So that's actually kind of surprising.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Well,
That's
actually,
fine.
I edited
sorry, go ahead.
I edited episode 52 in Destination Linux, and it went smoother this time. And I don't know if it had to do with Ubuntu Mate or what, but it went smoother than it's ever gone in the last month, I think, as far as the rendering process. So I don't know. I wasn't affected by anything with that. So.
Well, that's my point. I was just going to say, we keep talking about gaming not getting there or whatever, and I don't know necessarily if gaming will ever 100% get there anyway, unless it's in multiple lifetimes down the road. But when you think about this in the grand scheme of things, just like people use Mac over Windows because they like some of the software or some of the things it does better. I look at it as that there's certain games in Linux, a lot of games actually that people are going to want to play and are going to be perfectly happy with. And if there's other games that they want to play that are Windows based, that's the time that they're going to use it, just like a lot of us have done here or whatever. And that's it. So you go to the tool at the time that what you're going to use. And I think what it's coming down to now is you're seeing more and more everyday Linux type use, not only just for the, instead of playing it down that, if you just want to get on the internet and do some searching and look at Facebook. No, it's more than that, because you just said it yourself, Rocco. I mean, there's a lot of people that are doing video production and all kinds of things with it, aside from just gaming, much bigger things. So, and it's been out there in the commercial aspect for so long. What's lagging right now, which is making the climb, is the desktop version. It's the desktop part. That's why there's so much attention to this, because everybody just associates now it's this new thing coming into the picture. In fact, it's not new. It's just the desktop version is the, or side of it is what's considered the newer part of it. And it's not so new anymore, and it's making its way. But I look at it as you're going to pick the tool you want to use. And if Linux is your daily driver, but yet there's one thing you want to do on Windows, that's what you're going to go to. And if there's something that you want to do on a Mac, that's what you're going to go to for that particular thing.
Guys, sorry to interrupt. Just going to grab a coffee. BRB.
Okay.
Got it.
So the issue is, while you're right, it's just people aren't typically going to dual boot. Most won't. They'll look at it.
Most people won't.
No, you'll have a separate machine.
No, most people just have one machine.
Most
No.
people have more than one computer.
Most people will not do that. Most people will see the fact that they can't use something and just say, well, can't use it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I agree with that. I think that world's changing. At one time, I think that's just, I don't know.
Here's the problem with the Linux ecosystem. We have had, at no short of 5 major flubs from Microsoft and Apple, and we've capitalized 0 of them.
Yep.
And it's because every time we get to the point where we might have a chance, they're like, hey, let's change some giant thing that's going to massively make it confusing and break stuff. Great.
That's true. That's exactly what happens.
It is true.
We had the GNOME 2 to GNOME 3 crash, like during the first complication between Vista and 7. Then you had when Windows 8 comes out, people still use Windows. We have 8.1 they still use Windows, and like they start doing the whole privacy issue with Windows 10, and people still use Windows because during that time we have DEs battling each other, the distros, people hating on different distros based on some arbitrary ridiculousness. People start saying, "Oh, System D is evil," and they're like, oh, this is this huge thing, and then now Wayland's going to take over because the display server's not good enough, and then it just we're a constant.
I think
the best thing about it is that it moves so much, and the worst thing is that it moves so much.
I think for Windows users who want to switch, I think for them diversity is too complex. And Linux is a wonderfully diverse. Linux is great, but for some people it's too much. And look, if I didn't have patience, I wouldn't be here. But I got patience, and I got something.
But not
working.
only that just you have too many choices. I think sometimes it's not that I want less choices in desktop environments and so on. It just people can't handle too many choices.
Don't give the fragmentation stuff. Oh,
yeah.
God.
Look what happens if you go to a restaurant and they have 10 pages of food items. You go, oh my God, what am I going to eat? And then you end up getting what you always get. It's that same mentality. If you have too many choices.
On my channel, there's two reasons people can't switch: gaming, and they have to use a specific program they can't use in Linux, whatever that program is. I completely understand. I mean, if I was a hardcore gamer, I probably wouldn't be on Linux.
Yeah, like specific uses are understandable why you can't switch. Mm-hmm. Workflow, call it whatever reason you want, but I think that people in general, and I'm generalizing, generic end user consumers here, that they just want to be led to the answer. They don't like to think for themselves. I've worked at Rocco, you've worked retail, I work retail.
Mm-hmm.
That is legitly how people are. They want to be handheld and led to.
And it's the same no matter whether it's
nothing wrong with that
operating systems. I remember I worked in a camera shop when I was in college, and cameras were the same way. There were people who wanted, like me, I wanted to have my, interchangeable lenses and the whole bit and whatever, and sit around and screw around with all the exposures and settings and film, and what other people just wanted point and shoot. And most people still want just point and shoot.
I think that's most of society today.
Yeah,
they just want it to be simple. They don't, like we're sitting here talking about Linux and we're caring about all of this stuff, but most people don't even care about Linux. They just want to do what they need to do.
And what do they normally do? What do most people do? They surf the web, they watch some videos, they do some email, and they do some word processing and maybe a little bit of PowerPoint or Excel.
Unless that person is curious, like I was back in 2006.
Most people aren't.
Well, I don't know if most, but a certain percentage. I mean,
the majority of people, I don't think, have that intellectual curiosity. They don't care. They just want it to do what they look at it as an appliance.
When XP went away, I had a lot of people. I sold a lot of used recovered computers that I put Linux on because people wanted something other than Windows because they were ticked with everything was coming down the pike and all this change and all that stuff. So I don't necessarily 100% agree with that. And the other thing too is you keep talking that people that are on Windows, well, if it's truly about gaming, they can do the same AAA games on a console and still have a Linux PC.
Oh, that's not remote.
Educate them. No. To a point, yes. I mean,
no, it isn't. Considering
Michael, let's look at it this way. You're talking a PC gamer. Mm-hmm. You're talking somebody that's a little bit more in a different, not a little bit more, in a different level of most people who game. Because the average person, if you're going to talk average now, the average person who you'd be more inclined to use Linux. The average person who's going to game, it's easier to go buy a console off the shelf, plug it in, and run it. They're not going to sit there and worry about whether they got a gaming PC or building it. When you get into that level or that choice, now you're talking a whole different animal.
When you look at the people, the argument if they ever looked up PC versus console, they'll see that consoles are incredibly expensive. When you add all that, every game costs like $60.
They're not upgradable. I know that. We could go down that whole argument, but I'm talking about if you're going to talk the average user, when you're talking gaming and you're talking.
I wouldn't consider someone who's a gamer just because they're a gamer, they're not an average user, because there's just because someone is a gamer who's like there's a ton of streamers on Twitch right now that don't have anything other than the fact that they are a gamer and they have information about the specs that they use, but they don't really care about like learning how computers work, and they're not hardcore.
I know that. But my point is, though, is most people who are gaming, again, I still look at it as there's an average person who wants to play games, because obviously, I'll tell you the truth, that's how I started out, was on a console. But when I started getting back into computers and everything and wanting to build stuff and whatever, that's when the switch came. And when you make that switch over to PC gaming, even if you're not into it, where you got to have water-cooled system and $10,000 PCs and all this other stuff, even if you want to do it at a budget level, it still puts you
I found
different
consoles to be more cost-effective to have an Xbox One and not worrying about compatibility or graphics drivers. Look, until Halo came out, I really wasn't a gamer. But when I played the first Halo game on the PC, and it's a fantastic game, the books, the music, everything, the whole universe I thought fit. That's when I got more into gaming on the console. But from what I understand, they say graphics are better on a high-end PC. I don't know if that's true. Okay, all right. Fair enough. I'm not a heavy gamer, but for me, the graphics were just fine, acceptable on my Xbox One.
Here's the thing. I think both of you are kind of right. I mean, Michael, the figures that you can't argue with is that consoles.
Who's talking, by the way, anyway?
$1 million more.
I don't see anybody talking.
Every single
Ghost. DOS Ghost.
I don't see anybody.
Can I make a point, or are you just going to run your mouth?
I don't see anybody.
Well, we just have this like disembodied voice.
PC gaming is making a comeback, but it has for the last 3 years. But consoles have always outsold in the last 10 years PCs.
Sure.
So I think more people are using consoles based on sales numbers than.
I don't think that's accurate, because you can say, what about the fact that people already have PCs and they don't have to buy another one? So sales figures alone is not really enough.
Well, okay. So you're saying older PCs now are going to all be able to run.
I have a PC that's 8 years old that can play games flawlessly.
Yeah. Okay. You're right, Michael.
I always have to be right, and I have to have the last word.
Even based on the sales numbers of gaming and where the game.
I just realized it's Michael Fax Digital, not Tax. Okay.
Because you're looking at stuff that's coming off of a shelf. They can't possibly measure gaming systems that are built, specifically built like I built mine, or the average, or you built yours, or whatever. They look at parts, but they can't measure the sales of an actual gaming system that way, because you're never going to be able to.
But you can measure where the games are being sold. More games are being sold on console than there are on PC. So that tells you right there that the market, not saying that the PC market isn't vibrant, it's extraordinarily vibrant, and it's growing, and it's going to surpass consoles, I believe, at its current rate. But as of right now, consoles outsell PC, and they are an important thing. And by the way, PS4 uses Linux to run its architecture, so there's that. So you shouldn't be on an Xbox One's what I'm saying, Ad. If you're gonna get a console, you should be on PS4.
You're muted, Steve. I can't hear you. I see you talking, but I can't hear you.
Yeah.
He's definitely not muted.
I was actually muted, but look.
Well, I mean, we didn't mute you. That's not that way.
Can Toss jump in here with one of them? What's the matter with you, huh? What do you want from me, huh?
What are you talking about?
Yeah, fantastic, Toss. Surely the question should be, that scares me to death, is every single young person I know now, no matter how young, if you mention laptop or desktop PC, they go, what? And they're all sat there with the little Android tablets or whatever. So surely should the question not be, will desktop PCs even exist in 2025?
Yeah,
yeah, they will.
Oh, yeah.
They will.
Yeah.
I don't even think that that's true about
what he's saying, because did you guys see Apple's latest commercial? Now I agree with you guys saying that, yeah, it's going to be around. Of course it's going to be around. But have you seen Apple's advertisement? It shows a little kid sitting there, and the parent walks out and goes, hey, why don't you get on the computer? And the kid looks back from his iPad and says, what's that?
But it took the computer to build those.
So,
and that's the thing. The other thing too is that's the misnomer here. I mean, think about something.
Moving people
half the fun of being a
this
PC
idea
gamer is building and expanding. Look at it like a muscle car. If you have a muscle car sitting in your garage, you're never ending working on it and upgrading it or changing it or whatever. And that in itself alone is enough. But just look at like CES coming up and Computex and all of the, and there is actually some changes that they've been saying at CES where you see more cars showing up there than you are with tech equipment, but the tech equipment's in the cars too. So when you look at just the amount of parts manufacturers alone that are out there for this stuff, that's why I say you can't really say any of this stuff definitively and measure it definitively, because it is so large already. It's so large, it almost, this is going to sound weird, like an oxymoron, but it goes almost unnoticed because you can't really measure it right now.
Mm-hmm. And also, you can say that they say that the kids are like, yeah, Apple wants to push their agenda, so
right.
Of course the commercial would do that. But like, for example, there's a YouTuber who talked about his entire channel is about making good looking machines and making your setup as a gamer or just a user to have a good looking setup. The people do care about their desktops. And if you look at his, like, the amount of content he has, he's got a few hundred episodes, and the average age of people who watch his show and actually submit stuff to his show to be rated is between like 10 and 15. So like, there are people who are like in all the different ages, but like the most common is 10 to 15. So like, it is a huge market. Like, there's still a huge amount of people who want it, because it's now, not only is it just, we want a laptop or desktop, it's now like it's like a cool fashion thing in a way for people who want to have like something symbol. It's not necessarily a status symbol, because you can have something that looks good just by adding some LEDs and stuff. But it's just like, because the culture around it is becoming, it's cool to not only have good hardware, it's cool to have good looking hardware and to show it off. So really the only way to do that is to have a desktop PC. So like, no one cares about what angle you set your tablet on, you know.
Well, you say that, Michael. See the Christmas figures.
So right.
For how many parents brought their 10, 11, 12-year-old child a tablet as opposed to a PC or a laptop. I think you'll find it staggering.
But that's because they already have PCs.
Yeah,
that's the whole thing.
Yeah, but they don't. The young generation don't care about PC. What's PC really?
You can't make it. You're making an assumption and a generalization that the evidence shows that there are a lot of people who care and there's people who don't care.
Well, look at this. Okay,
does that mean I don't care about this?
But Michael, we can't get a true feel for this, no matter what the figures say, because we don't have any 10, 11, 12, 13-year-olds on the show. You ask them, I think you'd be quite surprised. Look at the average age of the people on this show.
I'm the closest.
Enthusiasts.
Pick me, teach.
How many 10, 11, 12-year-olds on the show all going on about PCs? None. How many 10, 11? Yeah.
Sorry,
okay. If you want to see uncompromising pictures of cats, then go to TuxDigital/Bob.
Pick me.
Steve,
Rocco, on this
Toss's
that does still exist.
Last night when Pizza Loving Nerd was there, the kid's 12 years old.
Hey, Rocco, on that note, when we were playing Rocket League and they asked us in chat one day, do we run Linux? What was their? You remember what they said next to us?
No.
Oh, so you guys are 35 or older?
Yeah, that's exactly what they said.
Well,
that's great. That's funny.
That's funny.
So I work with a guy whose son is 13, and his son since the Xbox and the Xbox One and the PS4 now have streaming capability. That's opened a whole other bag of worms for kids that want to stream. This kid's begging his dad, I want a PC that I could do game streaming with, because right now all he's doing is uploading directly to his YouTube and then managing it through a phone. Kid doesn't have a PC, but he wants to be able to do all this stuff. And I've talked about it at work, what I do, and that guy's like
marketplace, and you're not. I don't think you could truly sit there and say one's going to be here over the other down the road. Each one of them has their own place. Perfect example, and I mentioned before, is just look up Jay's 2 Cents channel. He just crossed 1.3.
I love Jay. He's so fun.
And the reason he does that is because he puts together some fantastic systems. And he talked about 2018 recently. His video for the year was, I'm going to start doing some things for even the entry-level people, because it seemed like they were getting forgotten a little more. He says, I want to have it for all ranges. I mean, he did... was it Terry? Is it Terry Crews? Is that the name?
Yeah, Terry Crews.
Terry Crews. I mean, he's done stuff for him.
It's a beautiful machine.
So he does it from celebrities right down to the basic guy, you know. And he knows his stuff, and he does really well with it. He's not the only one out there, but him and Linus Tech Tips, those are probably some of the more popular channels. And they do have, if you ever seen, like when Linus opened up his new shop or was getting ready to move into his shop, he didn't even open it yet. He was moving into it. He had a meet and greet kind of a thing, and people showed up. The age ranges in there were from little kids on up to our ages. I mean, they were all over the map, and male and female alike. So we can't sit here and really judge that. We're talking about Linux here, and now we're trying to judge the whole PC versus, console thing and whatever. I think this is a lot bigger than us here for what we're talking about.
Well, there's probably going to be a point.
Linux, I think getting back to Linux, Linux is really making its headway in this. Guys like you, even you, Ryan, I mean, with what you've been doing, it's really cool. And that's the kind of stuff that's going to put it out into people's awareness, is keeping doing this.
My prediction is the future is going to be somewhere in between what everybody's talking about. I mean, I think things are going to be accessed via cloud. You're going to have most of the gaming and the GPUs and all of that being managed by servers, and people are going to be taking a monitor or a device and connecting it up and playing the games through an online server.
NVIDIA already does
in
that.
The future, and you could probably will be doing that with a tablet. You'll be doing it with your TV. You may be doing it with your PC as well. But the days of everybody having super expensive hardware will become a niche market at a certain point. And it may reverse as markets go in circles sometimes and the servers aren't able to keep up and individual equipment comes faster and all of that. But I think right now everybody's preparing for the idea that most of this is going to be managed through an online cloud.
I agree with you. That much I agree with you, because, I mean, you see it already with virtual keyboards. You can sit there and put basically a screen on a desk and have a virtual keyboard on your desk when there's really nothing there. You're tapping on the desk. Now, that said, is that going to work in every scenario? You're sitting in an airport, you don't have a flat surface. How are you going to run something like that? You can't do it on your lap. Will they have something that you can come out with as an adapter and just slap it on there? Yeah, or a keyboard.
I'm saying you'll be playing World of Warcraft on a tablet in the airport. You'll be, because you're not going to have the hardware constraints because it's all going to be running off of a server. The biggest constraint to that happening right now is the fact that the speeds of our internet, exactly, the bandwidth is so low. But eventually, let's hope.
Basically, Ron, what you're saying is games are going to become a service. We had software as a service, 15, 20 years ago.
Right.
Well,
games as a service.
If you remember, there was I don't know if it's still around, is On Live was that idea of streaming a game. Streaming a game from a server where you didn't have to have the high-powered computer and it would take care of all the graphics, but that didn't really go anywhere.
Well, Spectre, wasn't that one of the biggest concerns right now? As they said, the most effective entity was going to be cloud right now?
Until the Spectre Meltdown come out, because most people are going to be the biggest hit is the cloud.
Yeah.
Because virtualization is like what the cloud's based on, and containerization through and compiling stuff like that. Yeah, this might happen, but it's not going to be anytime soon. Because of all the stuff they're going to have to deal with. They're going to put a lot of investment having to replace the stuff, which there's not even hardware to replace it with right now anyway. So there's going to be performance hits that's not possible. But also, depending on the infrastructure of the region you're in, you're not going to be able to do it anyway because the bandwidth wouldn't sustain it at all. And in a lot of places, they have internet connections that are so trash that they couldn't even consider it.
I mean, not so long ago, you would be sitting on AOL, and the idea of this happening would be on an episode of Star Trek where all of us are talking to each other with live video and streaming audio and all of this stuff, and it working.
Yep.
And 10 years from now, we could be looking at the same thing with virtualization in the cloud for games and that type of stuff. Maybe it won't, but that would
in
be
10 years, it's possible. 10 years.
And I'll be using a phone like this to access Rocket League,
Nah, you'll be using a chip embedded under your skin and talking to your arm.
Ryan, I just hope they come up with better controls than the virtual ones.
That will be the day.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Virtual controls are the worst.
So earlier, before the stream, I was actually listening to another live stream. Old Scrap there was putting out his
Scrap's
stream.
my hero this week, by the way.
He was jamming away, and it was pretty awesome. So the next time he does it, you guys should check it out.
Let me tell you about cool people in the world. Like, so at about 11 o'clock at night, I got a brand new piece of audio equipment, a Behringer 404 HD, and I could not get it to work. I was having this problem. And so I just hit Scrap up thinking, well, maybe he'll help me on Telegram. What was it? About 4 hours later, Scrap has all my equipment rerouted and hooked up correctly for the first time. He has jack set up on my machine, all the mixers set up, all this beautiful stuff that I've never had before. And he did it without even, all I did was ask, hey, could you help me? And he stayed on there. So I appreciate it very much, Scrap. You rule, man.
You're welcome. Anytime.
So
nice.
Rocco, I know you've been jealous of all the stuff I've been telling you Scrap set up for me, so maybe you got to set up an appointment with Scrap.
No, that's too much for me, man.
Rocco, are you saying you don't want to get jacked?
Yeah, you don't want to get jacked.
Come on, you gotta get jacked, boy.
I don't want to get jacked. Sorry.
I didn't think I wanted to either when he showed me, hey, this is what your setup's going to look like. I'm like, that looks like Chinese, dude. I have no idea what you're showing me.
I can't even.
I'll take you through baby steps. By the time we're done, you'll love it.
Yeah, Jack is amazing. Like, it's incredibly hard to set up if you don't know how to do it. But once you get it, it's awesome.
But the thing that made it easiest for me is that the stuff under KX Studio, like those apps, each one alone, they're laid out so well that once you know what each little thing is for, when you start understanding how audio and computers work, it kind of just falls into place. And then each little piece is one to the next. Take a cable and plug it in the thing and the thing and the thing, and then it's there and it works.
Yeah.
So he still has that reminds me of 10 years ago when people would say, you know how Linux works? And once you take the piece of the kernel, then you take the
module, then you add this module.
This kind of audio routing though is for things like what Das is doing and what I do and what Rocco does. Like when you start getting to the point where it's like, I need to make all of this stuff connect in some way and be able to put it in different places and play with where this goes and that goes and this goes and that goes. I mean, yeah, that's what it's for. And
yeah, but there's Scrap. You got this down pat, so you know exactly what to do about it.
That's my pedal board. Okay, I'm into this by hand even.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like your setup or something like that.
Microphone, and then I'm done.
Yeah,
I know.
But your setup, Scrap, is something that I need as far as for the podcast, because I really do need to have separate audio channels so that I can record a Zoom on one and mic output on the other, and I can separate them so I don't get system sounds and every other sound involved in it. It's just a little bit too detailed, too much to.
But here's the thing: when Scrap broke it down, and it took him a while to get it through my thick skull, but once he got it in there, it really is easier. Like I went right after he was done, I went to my MacBook and I converted my MacBook to Jack, and I was able to have it up and running. And
let me ask you this. You have it up and running now.
Yep, it's running right now.
If it was Friday afternoon, an hour before the stream, and something happens,
I'm gonna be calling Scrap. No.
And if he's not there, if he's not available, but that's what I'm saying. Like if you don't understand it yourself, all I would have to do
is turn off Jack and start Pulse, and I would be right back to my normal setup.
Yep.
There's nothing I would have to do major to turn Jack off. So it's literally just stop Jack, restart Pulse audio server, and you're good to go.
Okay.
Jack is awesome. Like it is definitely cumbersome at first. But the piping system in Jack is also really cool because it looks crazy, but it's just drag from one device, one input into another output, or combine the two with a dummy output, and it looks weird, but it's actually just a simple drag and drop.
Yeah. But that said,
it's like plugging
Scrap
cables
has
in.
me all piped out everywhere where I can move stuff to VoIP, different VoIP stuff and different audio, and then I have a mixer board to change, all the effects and everything I want and route things differently. I'm scared to death to distro hop until I can get the script fixed.
See,
He gave me a script that I can run every time, and once I get that script figured out, I can distro hop again. But right now, I'm on KDE Neon for the near future until
anything Ubuntu based, this will work on.
You're limited to KX Studio stuff, right?
Yeah.
Well, KX Studio has stuff for
Cadence,
Debian.
Mixer, and Carla is the combination I have right now.
Yeah, Carla and Cadence, but that's KX Studio makes Carla and Cadence, right?
Yeah, it's all KX Studio stuff.
Yeah, you can, if anything Arch based, you could use Jack, and anything Debian. I don't know if Debian, definitely Ubuntu, but does Debian work, Scrap?
Yeah, Debian works.
Okay.
I haven't tried it yet, but it says right there on their website you can install the repos on Debian.
Yeah, so you, like there's a wide range of distros.
And the nice thing, the way because I'm also a trainer at work, and I've been told that I train people like you train a 5-year-old. So I step you through every little thing.
Perfect.
So when it comes to all the little components, when you're using Jack, it's like once I showed it, once he got the concept of like the pulse bridge modules, the thing that because you don't ever get rid of pulse. Don't think that pulse goes away when you use Jack, because you need pulse to handle all of your system stuff, your web browser, Zoom, all that. And you can create little bridges. Like, so when you go into your Zoom settings and you select your input and your output, you can create virtual IO and label them. And you select them in Zoom. If you label them Zoom, you just go to Zoom and it's like, oh, it's there under Pulse. And you don't have to decide, okay, is it HDMI this? Is it this, that? Is it whatever? You get to tell it what its name is. And you get to put it on a big map and say, I'm going to connect it here. And then you go to your app and you select it from the drop down.
And if it doesn't work right, you can get aggressive with it and name it pile of crap. And you route everything to pile of crap. I don't win.
I was going to say, Scrap, basically Jack is like the Linux version of like virtual audio. More or less.
Yeah, but it's so much better than virtual audio cables or Banana or whatever.
Yeah.
Because there's so much stuff in the way in Windows with driver signing and everything, and then people want money and they put ads on your thing, and it's like, no, stop that.
You could have your audio
Windows
faster if you install this browser toolbar.
Yeah, pretty much.
No.
Or the Pro version.
Problem.
Although I will tell you, Rocco, when I got offline with Scrap and I rebooted my computer and logged on the next day, I was like holding my breath, like, is the audio going? Please work. And it did. Everything was perfect, but it was nerve-wracking because it looks so complex to begin with. But
that's because it is so complex.
It is, until someone like Scrap breaks it down.
And Das has actually offered his help to put this into a video format with me, and I'm using him as the guinea pig for the thing and the stuff, and it's working out so far. And
he's like, look, guys, if Das can learn this, anyone can do this.
Yeah, but see, that's something that is not out there, especially based on Linux.
So needed. Scrap.
That content is just not out there, and it needs to be.
It will.
It does.
It will be. Because I'm not doing it, so it's more likely to come out.
It's more likely that it'll happen this year.
By the way, everyone needs to go subscribe to Scrap's channel so you can get that content and learn how to do the Jack.
You can get there by going to tuxdigital.com/SJ Studios.
You can get to anything by going tuxdigital.com, trust me.
If you see the giant screaming emoji, there's like a giant screaming emoji looking guy. That's me. It's the same as my icon in the chat there.
Yep. Yeah, because there is other SJ Studio stuff out there.
That's why you need to remember tuxdigital.com/SJ Studios.
Exactly. Or tuxdigital.com/EnglishBob.
Yep.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Try it. Go try it.
Way.
You try it.
Yeah.
Put it in your browser right now.
I'm telling you, it's the new Google, man.
I was gonna say he did it with my channel too.
I used to use DuckDuckGo. Now I just use tuxdigital.com.
Can I charge Michael $15 a month for that?
Me?
I think
Well,
I
okay,
think you should
about
be.
2
He should be
seconds
charging
no
you.
Yeah, probably right. Yeah, I'll expect your invoice, Michael.
Yeah, exactly. Also, there's touchdigital.com/toss today.
Yeah.
So you know.
But basically, anybody on here with a
talking to me.
YouTube channel that talks Linux can be found at tuxdigital.com. Just
right.
your handle.
Yep. Just remember touchdigital.com and maybe other stuff too.
Yes, for all your tux needs.
Give them all that through traffic.
So, on the latest episode of Destination Linux, we got to talk to Jonathan Riddell. Riddle.
Michael, you've probably never heard of him.
I keep saying Riddell.
Isn't
Yeah,
it
but
Riddle?
no, he says it Riddle.
Well, he's wrong.
He says his own name wrong. Okay,
He
of
says-
course.
He says his own name wrong.
Wow.
We should have had Michael on the show.
We should have.
Wrong as soon as it starts. Your last name.
You're wrong with your own name.
You don't know how to pronounce your own name.
And I just got done editing the
Takes a
episode, and
village.
it turned out really good. So you should check it out when it comes out, because there was a lot of things in there that we discussed. We covered a lot of subjects, and it was
Or
pretty good.
become a patron and get it early.
Yeah, you could do that.
You could. Just saying.
That is an option.
So did you live stream today?
Are you talking about me?
Yeah. Well, you're the
Oh,
only one.
yeah. See,
You're the only one that is in
what
question whether you
happened
live
was-
stream or not.
See, what had happened was
what had happened was no.
No. Okay.
I've had to do some personal stuff that has not allowed me to stream for the past 2 weeks.
Okay.
Rocket League.
no.
I mean, that's not the reason that stopped me, but I did do it a couple hours ago, so that's technically.
Michael, you maybe need to ease up on registering the Tux Digital / Walmart domains, etc.
Sometimes I do spend too many hours setting that up.
Yeah. So I was playing Rocket League, and I was still trying to get out of silver, and I just cannot get out of silver. I play with so many
In twos?
random people in threes,
Threes?
and
Really?
dude, people are just killing me, dude. They're just killing me.
I deal with the same thing in my diamonds.
You
Oh
need
my
a boost.
gosh. Yeah, and your diamonds, whatever. But anyway, there's
Diamonds
no.
and pearls.
I'm
I don't-
diamond 1. I should be diamond 3 at least.
That's because you got tilt the one night and played with me and some rando.
Yeah, that happened. Actually, I lost.
You get demoted.
I think I lost my diamond there. So
Yep.
He was very upset about that. You
I
know.
synced it. I synced it.
So silver, you say, huh?
Yeah.
Wait for it. Wait for it.
Chirp, 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 chirp.
I'm waiting to do a.
Fill your boots.
I'm waiting to do a Rocket League live stream with EB.
No, I can't wait, Rocco.
Mm.
Honestly, I
I'm
can't-
so ready.
I'll be on the Hannah Montana Linux.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and you got to make sure DOS is on though, because they got to stream that awesomeness of them.
Yeah, can't wait. I'm really excited about that, I have to say. And
We've got Rocket
we've
League
got to
from Russia, comrade.
we've got to get Michael on there as well, because it'll be Tux Digital / BD Live / Rocket.
Yeah, but then he'll lose his diamond 1 again.
Yeah. Well, we'll just have to play casual because so he doesn't lose any rank.
Diamonds
By
are
the
Michael's
way,
best friend.
Rocco, don't worry about the silver thing, because I'll be way down in iron somewhere. I'll be struggling to boot the game up. Don't worry about that.
And you should get 4 more of us and then have a team against each other. That'd be
Yeah,
You've got to get past Cole first.
Wait, so I'm bronze in doubles, and I was playing with a guy earlier today, and we lost, and I'm like, is there anything lower than bronze? How can I go lower than bronze?
By the way, Joe, you
unranked.
have to get your 3-year-old to do the commentary. How cool would that be?
Oh, yeah.
It'd just be
Dude, I have a
cool.
3-year-old that
Yeah,
would love to do
Yeah.
commentary.
That would just be so
Nice.
cool.
You'd be surprised at how adult he talks for 3.5 years old. The stuff that comes out of that kid's mouth just amazes me.
Yeah, fantastic, Joe.
Yes.
Fantastic, man. Wonderful.
Yeah.
All right, so who's hopping this week? And we're missing Colin. We're missing our biggest distro hopper here. He's still in traveling Thailand, I guess.
I'm still kind of hopping a little bit.
What are you hopping to?
Well, I do have Solus installed. Nope, I take that back. I don't think. Yes, I do. I do have Solus
He's
installed.
lost his mind already.
He doesn't even know.
He's hopped so many times he
I
doesn't
have
remember.
like
That's it.
2 or 3 other solid state drives in this machine that used to be in some kind of a RAID config for my Windows games, but I wiped them out. And I think one has a rebuild of KDE Neon because for some reason my kernel wasn't updating to 410 on this one. So I did a rebuild. And I'm going to use it to do my tutorial stuff. And then I have another SSD that has Solus on it. So I've been messing with Solus again. I kind of like it, but I still can't get the particular repos. So I'm mostly hopping through different Ubuntu distros with different DEs.
Well, speaking of that, Colin's probably on Nylon right now as long as he's over there.
I did check out MX, though. I thought that was kind of cool. MX did look nice. I just didn't have to play with it.
I tried. It's pretty good. Yeah, MX-17.
MX is nice.
I liked it, yeah.
But I have to be honest, I have hopped this week.
What did you hop to?
Well, my peppermint slowly got worse and worse and worse, and Zeb nailed it. I had a power cut one day, and it seemed to totally and utterly trash my peppermint install on the hard drive. So I ignored it for a couple of weeks, and eventually this stopped working. And I thought, oh, really? I'm going to have to bite the bullet. So anyway, then I read this release that Streamlabs had launched their own version of OBS purely for streamers. So I thought, do you know what? So I'll wallop the Windows 10 drive back in, downloaded it. Oh, man, is it a fantastic app? Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah. And then anyway, I did a bit of a live stream on it.
Yes.
Yeah, I did. Wind blows, sorry.
No,
I
was like double taking for that.
Bear with me.
Did you cuss at me? What?
No. You can beat me later as long as the object's blunt. Right. Seriously. So I'm on the wind blows on a mechanical hard drive, and in the back of my mind, I can see a massive, huge, dark image of Zeb saying, "Where's the pep, son?" You know what I mean? You better get some pep on there. You're in trouble. So anyway, I did a full reinstall of pep onto an SSD and an HD, with the wind blows out, booted the pep up, and the difference in speed and stability was absolutely staggering compared to the wind blows, and just every aspect of pep. And I think until you go away from Linux back onto Winblows and then come back onto Linux, it really enforces just how cool Linux is as an OS.
It makes me not want to play games on Windows at all, because I'd rather just go in the living room and sit down at my Xbox One or the PS4, which I was told. It's funny because I built this machine with the dual purpose in mind when I was still using Windows of we could play all the games and things on it. I got a nice graphics card, all the things and stuff. And then my wife goes and buys 2 $500 consoles. And she's like, I like sitting on the couch. I was like, well, I did all the things to make it work on the couch. And now I'm not even using this for games. And it's Linux is on it. And now I'm out there playing games on the couch.
Exactly. Who said that before?
Hey, Rocco, look who's in chat. Run with the Dolphin is in our chat.
D.O., baby.
Yeah, man.
He should be on the live stream. He's an absolutely brilliant guy.
Yes, he is brilliant.
Guy. Brilliant.
Who?
Dolphin Oracle.
Run with the Dolphin.
D.O.
Dolphin Oracle. And that just brings me to a nice point.
Get on here, man.
There was a point I wanted to bring up on Destination Linux, but it wasn't convenient this week. On Destination Linux 50, mentioned that MX-17 was one of my top 2 distros, but there was a problem with the file manager, and you could very easily take ownership by root. So what did Dolphin and the MX community do? They went away, they found a fix, and he posted a video to show you how you can take away the possibility of running that command just by clicking on it after you've used root elsewhere. So that just goes to show how great the MX community is, that they will just listen to one voice on a podcast and come up with a fix. So big shout out to Dolphin for that. Thank you very much. It's made for me, MX that much more secure now. Well done.
I completely second that, Zeb. Absolutely. And I think the big difference between the MX community and a lot of Linux communities is they are purely focused and driven on what the users want, not what they think is cool or what the latest kernel is. They really focus the distro on the stuff that users want. Right. Fantastic.
Yep.
So Zeb and Steve, if he puts a peppermint flavor skin on it, you guys are in.
Because then it's a spin, then it's the respin.
So just to reiterate, anybody interested in MX Linux, go to tuxdigital.com/MX17.
He's got. I was gonna say, Michael, you got everybody plugging your website for you now, but
that's his point.
You know, you need to.
I would never do something that underhanded.
It'll be there.
Yep. Yep. Well, again, I tried MX and it was really nice. And the only reason that it's not on this machine is because it has the same dual monitor issue with my setup.
Someone's going to get a video next week.
I don't know why, but
I was going to say, I actually hopped 3 distros today.
Did you?
I tried Backslash. It's been a while since I tried it, so I wanted to see what that was like again.
And what'd you do in the next minute?
That stayed on my machine for about 30 seconds once the trackpad didn't work, and my touch screen had all of right click, and that was it.
Okay.
What distro was this?
Backslash Linux.
Oh, okay.
Then
it's more like Whiplash Linux.
Yeah, pretty much. Then I tried Zorn, which I hadn't tried in a while. I think 10 was the last time I tried it. So that was an interesting experience. And now I'm back on Solus.
Wow. Imagine that, back on Solus. Did you guys see that? I think it was Makula Linux with Lindows. He had another release somewhere. I got to find it here.
He's got Flash Linux as well.
Yeah.
Makulu Flash and Makulu Lindows.
Yeah, Lindows, yeah. But it's like a new version or something. So
he's got Lever. Makulu Lever, where he uses the ORM AWN panel.
Yeah.
Oh man, well, AWN store.
Has anybody tried it yet?
Long time ago.
The Avon Window Navigator.
No, I mean Lindows.
No. Michael was asking what AWN was.
Oh.
No, it wasn't. I was saying, was it still available? Was it still being worked on?
No, it hasn't been updated since like 2015, I think.
Yeah, well, we didn't want to make a new distro with it then.
Has anybody tried FreeSpire yet? The operating system that's going to be on $100 Walmart PCs.
It's back
it's Ubuntu with a pretty interface that Black Lab Linux has put on it, because it's by exactly the same company. I can't see any benefit to FreeSpire at all. It's got nothing in it that Ubuntu hasn't.
Yeah.
So it lasted about half an hour and then it was off again.
Well, FreeSpire will need extensions like GNOME 3. Right?
I think it's based on the fact that Linspire is like not proprietary, but like closed license.
Michael,
and you have to pay for Linspire.
Why did you convince the Ubuntu team to get rid of the icons on the desktop? I know.
Well, so what happened?
You had to bring that up.
Sorry.
So what happened was GNOME decided that they are not MX Linux and they know what you want.
Right. Exactly.
So speaking of which, tuxdigital.com/MX Linux.
What did I warned you? I told you. Dolphin, I'm so sorry.
Evie, you've tried Linux Lite before, haven't you?
Sorry, me.
Yeah, you've tried Linux Lite before.
Yeah, I love Linux Lite. I think Linux Lite. I think Voltum and the team over at Linux Lite do a fabulous job. I think it's now probably one of the most underrated and untalked about distros out there. Yeah, it's fabulous. Great little distro. It really is.
One of these days, I'm going to download it and try it out.
It's really.
It works really well on older hardware, especially and stuff. If you want something super light.
It's almost like the Ubuntu version of MX. The two teams are very similar. The Linux Lite team are really focused just on user-friendly ways of doing things rather than RTFM, which is fantastic. It's great.
Yeah. Yep. Well, they have a beta release out, and I don't know when the regular release is going to come out for it, but I do think I want to try that because I watched videos on it. I watched other things on it, and now it is based on XFCE, so I don't know if it'll have the same issue with the dual monitors, but I guess the only way to do it is to try it.
Okay, Rocco, if you're going to try Linux Lite, try 3.6. Don't use the 3.8 beta because it has a bug in the installer where it doesn't set the partitions properly. So you install it, reboot, and you just get a blank black screen. So if you're going to try it, try the 3.6 or wait till 3.8 is released.
All right. I can do that.
You know, I'm wondering, Rocco, though, it seems like because there's been so many distros that you've had that issue with, is it truly the distros, or do you think it's something with your configuration of your hardware?
Well, I would think that it has something to do with the configuration along the line, but it only happens in, or I've only noticed it happening in XFCE versions or systems that use some parts of XFCE. Where, like I said, now I'm on Ubuntu Mate and it doesn't do it at all.
Well, it's interesting because earlier Mate, I did have kind of an issue where, especially when I had 3 monitors, 2 would come up with one wallpaper or one background, and then the third one would be something different, and I'd have to go in and manually tweak it. And I don't have that issue anymore. I'm on 2 right now, but I'm on a 34-inch, you know, which it's running just fine. So,
well, one of the other issues I was having while I was playing, like, say, Rocket League full screen, I would get a Telegram notification, and it would minimize the whole screen. Every time I would get a notification of any kind, it would just minimize the whole screen. Where I got notifications tonight playing Rocket League on Ubuntu Mate, and it just popped up the notification at the bottom of the screen and kept everything full screen. So there's definitely something going on with the way they're doing it. I just don't, and maybe, like I said, it doesn't affect everybody. It only affects people that have ridiculous setups like mine. I don't know, but Ubuntu Mate doesn't have that same problem. Solus didn't have that same problem. So
you do know that's Ryan and his notification bot. It says Rocco's playing Rocket.
Yeah, minimize the whole game. No, but it's even I get a Steam message. So, you know, you're running a game that's running Steam or that's running through Steam, and you get a Steam message and your game minimizes.
And that's me too. Rocco, you said you were going to bed. Why are you playing Rocket League with Mike?
Exactly.
It could be a GTK2 issue.
I mean, we would never play Rocket League late.
No,
like that.
that's just silly. That's absurd.
Right, everybody, I'm afraid I must love you and leave it as I have to go to work. Rocco, my sincere thanks for putting up with me on the channel. Lovely to share an early morning stroke evening with all you beautiful people.
You're always welcome, man.
Just on a parting note, thank you very much. I'd just like to say, if anybody wants to pay an extra $15 on Windows 10S, go to tuxdigital/Windows 10S, and you will be.
That one I can guarantee will not happen. Actually, I'll just make it, and it'll just redirect to English Bob's channel.
Sorry, Mark. So I just want to say thanks, everybody. Much love from this side of the pond. You all be well. Look after yourselves. Enjoy your Linux. Enjoy your gaming, and I'll catch you next time.
Good seeing you.
Be safe at work, man.
Take care.
You know what you do need, though, Mike? You need a tuxdigital.com/Amazon that sends your Amazon referral link.
That's a good idea.
Michael's like, Dad is actually
It's a good idea. Yeah, I should do that. But so I actually wanted to say something like, you know how you're asking like you might have been distro hopping and recently I was like, no,
not you.
No. I haven't changed my distro in like a year and a half or so.
Church of Neon.
But the New Year's resolution for 2018 is to do some distro hopping. So
nice. Wow. You are all set up.
Bunch of SSDs. So I'm going to be doing a lot of testing, and eventually I'll make videos on the tests.
Eventually we'll see Hannah Montana up here.
So eventually in the next 15 years we'll see one video about distro hopping.
What? Yes.
Michael, did you buy that SSD? Did you buy that SSD multi-slot where you can just
the hot swap?
Yep.
Icy dock.
Yep.
So
That's where I got these for. Actually,
speaking of which, I don't have room for that 4-bay SSD, but I did get the single bays for the hard drives with the power switch. Yes. So now when I go to install something, it's so simple that I'll just shut off my computer, turn the 2 drives off, and then go to install the whatever distro that I'm installing, and the install just flies right through without having to touch those hard drives.
Yeah, exactly. That's what the best part about it is those power button stuff. But yeah, the Orico drive bay.
Yes. So my question is, how much of a issue would it be? Well, I mean, obviously you don't want to. I don't think you'd want to turn the power on while the system's on. Are you going to hurt the drives if you do that?
It depends on what the drives are for. I would not turn them on if they have a bootloader. But
no, they're just storage drives.
Yeah, you're fine. Yeah, you're fine. You could it'll just mount them.
So I should have no problems whatsoever. I just turn them on and.
Whoa! You want me to confirm, like, guarantee?
Yes, I want you to guarantee like with a life insurance policy.
If they go bad.
This license does not provide any warranty. It's an as is.
If it's
Michael, what's version?
I would have.
It's the TDL, the TDPL version 1.0.
I don't believe it's the same, Rocco, as if you put a SATA to USB adapter in and plug them in, because that's not going to get the same amount of voltage. I don't know if would tend to be a little more harmful if you're giving them if they're just SSDs and nothing mechanical. I don't think.
Well, no, they're not SSDs. They are mechanical drives. I'm just worried about the power, like I don't know, maybe instantly coming on or off where. I don't know.
That's not something you want to do on a regular basis. Once in a while, if it happens or something like that, because people do get power outages and that kind of thing, but it's not something you regularly want to do. I mean, obviously they do make, like I said, a SATA to USB plug where you can plug them in, but even at that, it's still always better to boot up with them running versus starting them midst.
Well, that's what I've been doing. I've been taking the safe route and just shutting down completely, and then turn the power switch on and then turning it on. But I just didn't know if there was an issue that if I ever did by mistake, I guess, or by losing my mind, turn it on while it was on.
Yeah.
So, okay. So you're saying like having the power, having the drive bays on, is that what your question is?
No, my question is if they're off.
Mm-hmm.
And
if he flips the switch
and I forgot to turn them on. Yeah, if I forgot to turn them on, I boot into the operating system. Normally, I'll just shut the computer down and turn it back on and reboot. But would it hurt it to turn the switch on?
No.
Live.
No, it's the same thing. It's like when you turn a computer on, it's just like, oh, power's there now. So you're just doing the same thing, just doing it in a.
There's different power up cycles, though. I think when you're starting it up, and because it's going through.
But it's a drive. It drives. I've done it hundreds of times. Like it
shouldn't really be any different than if you plugged in an external drive. Your machine's running and you plug in an external drive.
Especially with the eSATA. So you have the same thing. It's the same connector, just one's external. Mm-hmm. So you can just plug it in and it'll mount it, like depending on if you have auto mount set up and depending on what the type of file system it is, it would just mount it, whatever your file manager would do. So there should be.
Mate asks you what to do. What do you want to do?
Oh, in that case, yeah, it should just ask you. It shouldn't be a problem.
Well, it's just
if you have like set a strips
a little weaker, you still run the risk. I mean, it's just my experience. I had little Seagate, portables and stuff like that have done that. I'm of the opinion it's not a good idea to give them a straight up jolt if you can help it. That's all.
Yeah, like I said, I still go the safe route and reboot, but
it's probably the better reboot. But I don't think you need to.
Yeah, I don't think it'll kill them tomorrow or something. But if you were doing it constantly, I think that's where the problem would come in.
All right. What else we got? What else we got?
Man.
All right, man. See ya.
But thank you all. It's been good talking to everybody.
Yeah, see you later, everyone.
Good night.
See ya.
Good night, Ryan.
I'm sitting here watching Need for Speed. I don't know why.
Why are you watching Need for Speed, dude?
I was flicking channels. I'm like, because I used to love that game on PC back in the 90s. Like, oh, but then I remember, oh, this movie sucks. So, you know, I'm trying to think the last Need for Speed game I played. Most Wanted. Anyway.
Yeah, they were fun.
I have noticed a lot of games to movies just don't seem to work. Have you noticed that?
Mhm.
Very few. What's the last good game movie? Tomb Raider, maybe? First
That was
Resident
like,
Evil?
I was gonna say like Tomb Raider was like campy bad or campy good. First Resident Evil movie was all right. Then they just kind of went.
I remember seeing Doom with The Rock was in it.
Oh God!
I love the game, but I'm like, I watch. I'm like, really? I sound like English Bob. Really?
Well,
really?
does like the Star Wars Battlefront count? I mean,
yeah. See, Batman was the opposite. It was a movie going to a game, and that tanked.
Yeah.
So.
I was gonna say, I'm sorry, you cannot end a Doom movie with a fist fight.
Well, I didn't like it.
I didn't like it either.
It was weird. I mean, not weird for Doom for a game, which is kind of creepy and weird. It was just, but a lot of them, I think they missed the boat with Halo, not doing a Halo movie 8 years ago, personally. But, you know.
Honestly, I think the only decent video game movie has probably been Prince of Persia. And that wasn't great, but it was at least watchable.
I will give you that, though, Carmine, that Halo's got to have one of the best soundtracks.
They had everything. They got the books. They did an interview with the music composer Martin O'Donnell.
Yeah.
And he had an interview, and they were saying that Microsoft, Martin's old, he's kind of famous for TV jingles like Flintstones, we're the Flintstone kids. Yeah. You know, that was his jingle. So I think he did other low-key games in the 90s, but he was approached, he says, according to him, he was approached by Microsoft to introduce Halo to the world back in like 2000. And he was like, ooh, this sounds like grandiose and big. So I think he says he saw the game, played the game. Of course, it has no music. It's just a raw footage. He's like, so he's driving in the car. This is before smartphones and everything. He says, I had this vision of singing monks. Oh, and I'm thinking, what a gift. What a gift just to visualize it. He says, I drove straight home and started writing the notes down for the music. And then they recorded it. I think the game came out with the Xbox back in the 2001. Of course, the rest is history. I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. And of course, he did most of the Halo games, I think. And yeah, he says he just had a vision of the theme in his head. And it's become one of the most recognizable themes in general, I think, in the world. So that's why I thought, you know, the games are highly successful. Good stories. The few games are worth $60. You know what I mean? The Halo games are worth $60.
Yeah.
You know, when they first came out. But I thought timing was right. You got the music, you got the story based on the books, multiple books. You got the built-in worldwide audience. You got the cool special effects. You have an iconic character, Master Chief, he's like the modern day Superman or whatever. But the deal fell through. They had Peter Jackson to direct it. I think he did Lord of the Rings, right?
Yeah.
They started filming and building stuff, I think, of all places, New Zealand. You know, they built the Warthog, the Jeep.
Everybody goes to New Zealand.
Okay, well,
it's beautiful.
Especially Peter Jackson. That's where Lord of the Rings is.
And it's cheap.
Yep.
Okay, all right. Well, and for some reason they had the Jeeps built and a few of the weapons and fake weapons and stuff, and it didn't work out.
I'm
Very
glad that they
disappointed.
did a movie.
Better than a Halo movie is Red versus Blue. All 14 seasons of it. Just saying.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, Red versus
I wanted my Halo movie. Darn it.
When was the last time you made a good video game movie? Ever?
What?
No. There's never been a good video game movie adaptation. It just doesn't exist.
There's a few decent ones. The first Tomb Raider, I remember. If that had Angelina Jolie, I kind of like that one.
Wait, yeah, when she actually looked like the Tomb Raider, if you know what I mean.
Yes. Yeah, she has two nice tombs on her. Yeah.
Just saying.
Okay. All
right. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, going back to Linux.
Hey, let's tie some music into Linux with this.
Yeah.
Linux Raider.
I remember when who was it? Sam Hewlett did some startup sounds for the Ubuntu when they were proposing some new Ubuntu startup sounds. He's a BioWare music composer and BAFTA award-winning guy. So that was kind of interesting to see.
Nice.
Isn't that one of the things that they're? Is that what you're talking about? The one of the things they're working on, the new startup sounds?
No, this is something that was like 3-4 years ago now. That he literally created. Like, this is like major video game industry composer. They're like, oh, I run Ubuntu. Here's some startup sounds.
That's cool.
Well, what it was in the news the other a month ago, saying that they were going to have a new sound pack or something like that.
New icons and new theming stuff. I don't know if they had it probably included sound stuff.
It did include sound stuff, but
if they're gonna need it,
they're gonna redo a lot of stuff.
I don't know. I don't know what everybody prefers, but do you guys prefer having sounds on and like system sounds? And
no,
I don't.
Turn them off immediately.
No,
I
don't.
There's only one, and it's when it's at the end of my audio script with the wall command. It says all systems go, and it dings when my audio is ready. That's the only one I want to hear.
Nice.
Very nice.
I don't have any. Maybe the Halo theme as a startup sound. Oh, Ubuntu Mate. But no.
Well, doesn't Katie Neon have startup sounds?
Yeah. Katie does in general.
Yeah, most distros have startup sounds. They have startup sounds, and they have like notification sounds and all this other stuff. I typically turn them off.
I don't remember KDE having one.
It does.
Yeah, Neon has
and
one.
splash screens, those go.
Yeah, Neon has
programs
one.
that have splash screens go.
Maybe it happens before the audio engine is all started and it plays to nothing for me.
When it first came out, it didn't have any, and then it started adding more stuff. They started adding extra polish like that.
It almost has like a Windows sound to it. The KD Neon startup.
Yeah, kind of. I turn off pretty much all sounds except for like email notifications or something like that. But
well, that reminds me, I got to turn off sounds in this system, but I'm not going to do it now because I don't want to kill the stream. Don't ever touch sound settings while you're live streaming.
Yeah, you gotta fix the sound settings. Everybody's muted.
That's sound advice.
Sound advice. Mm-hmm. That's music to my ears.
Right. All right. Yes. Speaking of streaming, everybody gets a last word because we're going to end it. Barbara?
I have no idea yet.
Toss.
My last word, Rock, I'm glad you came to your senses with Ubuntu Mate.
Yeah.
Nice.
I agree with that.
Pete?
Ubuntu Touch.
Wow. Oh. Is that to combat Ryan's Plasma Mobile or what?
Super excited for Anbox support coming, which means Android apps.
Nice. So how soon? Wait, before we go anywhere, how soon are they coming? Like,
I think the first test previews another week or two.
That's cool. Very soon. That's pretty soon.
That is pretty soon.
Yeah. Usually when a community announces something's coming, it's like, yeah, we're just gonna tell you we're working on this. But
yeah, so React OS.
Yeah, I like it when they announce something and it's like, hey, we're telling you that it's coming when it's actually coming, not while we're working on it. It's fantastic.
Yeah, they were showing off previews of it on their community stream.
Nice.
Nice. Cool. Zeb?
1 week only. Linux is everywhere.
1 week only.
1 week only. No.
We'll be back on the pet next week.
Okay. Scrap.
I'm gonna have to make a peppermint wallpaper with that on there.
That should have been at the end.
That's the exit. That should be the exit every time. Scraps.
I'm telling you.
If the only thing you need to know to use Jack is that you can have a soundboard too.
I need a soundboard.
My soundboard is the little. All I did was search for an OGG file and just play it, and all I did is drag and drop and connect it to Zoom. That's it. That's all I did. And just played it on.
Pretty
file.
slick. Does it have a Halo theme to it too on the soundboard by chance?
It can.
Good.
Okay.
All right, Matt.
Tuxdigital.com. Dark1778. There's your plug, Michael.
Exactly.
Michael.
Touchdigital.com/Big Daddy Linux.
There you go. Nice. Shane.
Probably gonna run Fedora this year.
Fedora.
Yep.
So you said you were testing it last week, so I take it that it's going well.
Yeah, I switched out my audio interface so I could get audio from Intensity Pro 4K from DaVinci Resolve.
And it's working out good. Nice.
So far.
So far. You let us know how it goes.
Yeah, when it breaks.
Especially with DaVinci Resolve. That too.
Joe?
Linux being open is basically what this community is. It's open-minded people. That's why we can sit here and have healthy discussions like this, and nobody really takes it to heart. They just, personal, they enjoy it. And I hope everybody else does that watches this, because I really do think this is a wonderful community, and I'm glad I found it. So I hope everybody else feels the same way.
I agree.
Nice.
Yeah, great.
All right, Barbara, last chance.
Glad you're now using Ubuntu Mate. Took you a while.
Right. I see the cat got the last word in it.
Oh, yes, she does. She's very vocal. Meow. Meow.
Last word. Check out Destination Linux, episode 52 with Jonathan Riddle. Check it out. Monday. All right. Everybody have a great night.
You
Thanks
too.
for coming.
Good night.
Night, y'all.
Good night.
Bye-bye. Good night, all.